Whether you enjoy being around a lot of people or you prefer being alone, our lives are filled with people, and God calls us to live at peace with all of them. Romans 12:18 says, "If possible, so far as it depends on you, live peaceably with all." That's a wonderful thought, but it's not easy. So there's a mountain over there that I went hiking in this week, and I was working on my sermon out there, the sermon for this week. And I enjoy going up steep hills while I'm writing sermons because I get focus and creativity. And I was sitting there in this bowl beneath one of the peaks. And from town, there's this really steep peak that I've looked at many times. And I think every time I look at it, I want to go on top of that thing. So I was in there in this basin, and I thought, I could get up there. So I put my notes in my backpack, and I chose a route, and I chose to follow this ridge. Well, the ridge was the wrong choice. It went up and down, and it was steep and exposed and had loose rocks. It got pretty stressful. I ended up making it off the ridge, but didn't make it to the summit of the peak. And it was stressful, and it was exhausting, but it was also a lot of fun. Conflict in our relationships has all that stress, all that exhaustion, but absolutely no fun. You have your stories of stressful and exhausting, and they probably far outdo mine, but I've done some things that have worn me out, like driving across the US in a 25-year-old Honda Civic in August through Texas with no AC, with a manual transmission and no clutch, and doing it all alone. Or those church board meetings that last until 11:30 and they just keep going on and they're difficult. I've done things like lead out in the funeral service of people who've taken their own lives. I've had hikes that last way longer than I expected them to, 35 miles and 15,000 feet of elevation gain. And those things are stressful and they're exhausting. But I've done some thinking about all the stressful, exhausting things in my life, and I think I can confidently say that I haven't done anything more draining than be a part of relationships that aren't working well. Relationship conflict drains the life out of us. And that's why it makes it into our 10 weeks of summer, because if we don't have peace in our relationships, our souls need restored. So this week, there's some questions for the trail. One of them is, how have you experienced conflict in relationships or lack of peace in relationships being a destructive force? Another question you might ask someone is, how have you experienced God restore relationships and bring peace? Let God restore your soul by bringing peace to your relationships.